Shalom from the northern part of Israel. We're right there with the border with Lebanon. This is called Rosh Hanikra. There's some caves down below, natural caves, but this is also the Lebanese border. Right behind me, you will see the. Let me show you. Come here. There's the army base, and from there, right after the mountain, is Lebanon. And so this is very strategic, important place for Israel, because from there it allows them to see into Lebanon quite a bit. But then on this side we have Nahariya, which is the first town right there, Nahariya. And then right after that there's some buildings right here, and then right after that there's another set of buildings, and that's Akko. And then right after, back there, you see down there, way down there, there's Haifa. So it's all close proximity. From here, without traffic, to Haifa is only about 35 minutes. It's not a long distance. And anyway, so just wanted to explain, I'll try to be brief, the situation in Syria. Back in 2011, the rebels had tried to get rid of the president Assad, who is the ruler. He's from a tribe called the Alawites, who are the minority in Syria. So a minority group was ruling over a big, vast area, Syria, which has a lot of people groups, and one of these people groups is the Sunnis, which are the majority in the area of Syria. But then there's also the Druze in the southern part of Syria. Then there's also the Kurds. They have an area which they've called Kurdistan, but it's not an official country. So these rebels, which are mostly Sunnis, didn't want Assad to rule over them. So they've tried several times to get rid of him. And the last time they tried, it was during the time of ISIS, where ISIS was just going nuts, massacring especially Christians, and also the Yazidis, chopping people's heads off. It was terrible. But they had the backing of the Russians and the Iranians and the group, the armed group of Hezbollah. The Assad regime had all these people backing him up, so the rebels weren't able to overthrow Assad, the president of Syria. And then the Kurds were also fighting in this whole thing, and they're backed up by the United States. The United Nations is also involved, but they don't do anything. And so they were able to subdue the rebellion. They were able, with the help of the United States, they were able to get rid of ISIS. Not completely though, because the other rebel groups kind of like parked themselves for a while in the northwestern part of Syria, close to the border with Turkey. Turkey has been backing up these rebels for a long time. And so what happened was that when Israel decided to, Israel got rid of Hamas. They're still fighting them, but for the most part, Hamas, there's not much left of Hamas. But then when the terrorist group Hezbollah kept hitting us from the north, from here, for like almost a year. And so finally, when they had Hamas kind of controlled in the Gaza area, then Israel changed their focus on Lebanon to try to get rid of this terrorist group Hezbollah. And so it triggered like a domino effect. They hit Hezbollah hard. They made it really weak now. This is one of the terrorist arms of Iran. This is one of their groups, Iran, Hezbollah, and the Iranian regime, and Iraq. All these are part of the terrorist activities of Iran. So when Israel hit the group Hezbollah really hard, then Iran lost this arm. So they lost Hamas, they lost Hezbollah. But then also the Russians, who were here supporting the President Assad of Syria for a long time, they've lost about 600,000 soldiers in their war against Ukraine. So they couldn't really be here for the President Assad, and Iran it has lost Hezbollah and Hamas, so they didn't really have any power or any way to back up Iran. And so the terrorist group realized all this, and thanks to Israel for them, no? They said this is the right time to attack the President Assad and get rid of this dictatorship regime that has been killing and massacring the Syrians for many years. Assad has even used chemical weapons on their own people, and they've killed millions of people and a lot of Palestinians as well, but the UN hasn't said anything. So anyway, so the rebel groups that were in the northwest saw the best opportunity was this one. So they started slowly, well, not really slowly, it was changing from day to day, and they started coming in. The Russians left, the Iranians left, the Hezbollah was not there to save the President Assad from this attack, and so the Syrian soldiers of the Syrian army who are not really paid, they said, we're not fighting for this guy. He's not even paying us that much. So they quickly, some of them joined the rebels, some of them, took off the uniforms. There's a video of that, where they took out the uniforms, they put on civilian clothes, and they just left. And they dropped their uniforms on the ground. And quickly, the rebels kept coming. They didn't have to fire too many shots. They took over town after town after town, and eventually they took over Damascus. The Syrian president took off to Russia with $150 billion he took with him. So he's in exile in Russia. And so now we have the rebel group taking most of Syria, all the way to the border, real close to the border with Israel. Israel thought, well, we can't wait till these rebels start, attacking us, because the rebel groups, the leader is called Julani. His last name is Julani, and that's in reference to the Golan Heights. And he has said already that he's coming for Jerusalem. So they're not like a nice group. These guys were a part of ISIS before, and then they were part of Al Qaeda. So they've said they're coming for Jerusalem. So Benjamin Netanyahu, who's pretty smart, he said we're going to take over some, extend the buffer zone. So they've taken pretty much all of the Golan Heights and all past the Hermon, and so they've got a nice buffer zone. They even took the tallest peak of the Golan Heights, which is amazing because from there they can see way deep into Syria, all the way past Damascus. So it's really good. It's very strategic that Netanyahu has done this. They bombed all a lot of the army bases, and a lot of chemical factories all over Syria. There was a whole bunch of them, and the Marine, the Navy, they destroyed all the Navy, destroyed all the airplanes. So imagine all this stuff in the hands of the rebels, and that's what Israel didn't want. So they decided to destroy all the stuff to give them less, make sure that they're not strong enough to attack Israel. So now Israel is in a strong position and always in defense. That's why it's called the Israel Defense Forces. Israel doesn't go out and destroy people like, people, a lot of people say that they do. So that's where we are right now. Iran is pretty much weakened. They don't have their tentacles. They've been cut off, Hezbollah and Hamas, and the Syrian president is pretty much gone, and Russia left. So here we are, and then in the northwest part of Syria are the Kurds. They have an area called Kurdistan, which is nice people. Let's say nice people, but they're like democratic. They have a nation. They have an official nation that hasn't been approved by the world, by the United Nations, which they should. They have like over 25 million people. They want their nation, and they've tried, and they just don't approve the nation. So they have armed forces also defending themselves against the Syrian army, and they're the Kurds. But the Turkish president, he wants to take over Syria. So he calls these Kurds terrorists, and that way he can have the sympathy of the world, saying, "Oh, yeah, they're fighting against terrorists, but they're not really terrorists. They're just defending themselves from these dictatorships, because the Turkish government is also a dictator, and they want to take over Syria. And these guys, they don't want to be ruled by dictatorship, so they're fighting against the Turks." But that's kind of like the situation here. This whole area was under attack for a long time by the terrorist group inside Lebanon, and a lot of these people here in Nahariya were running into the bomb shelters, but now it's quiet. We can't go past this area where the caves are. It's been sealed for security reasons, so we can't go past there, but from there you have a really nice view. And so I just wanted to explain all this from here, which is a very strategic place. But anyway, that's it. I hope you guys enjoy the day, and I'm gonna set it off showing you this amazing view.